Irma, and I'm about to go film a segment with my partner Larry Hammond. But before that, I wanted to tell you about this cool little necklace that I found. I don't know if you've noticed, but I'm not a big jewelry wearer, but this little necklace just gives me a little something something without going over the top. I got it from Stella and Dot, and my distributor is Elisa Ellis. It's a tongue twister. We've got a lot of tongue twisters today. You can find her on Instagram or on Facebook at Stylish Curvy Girl. You're gonna love it. Welcome to another episode of Be Brilliant, Enjoy the Journey. I'm Irma Vargas and this is my partner Larry Hammond. Wait, he is always on this thing. Larry, what are you doing?
There's always something there.
Well, I want to welcome you. I'm here to talk to Larry about an article that he wrote called YUR, How do Strengths Exemplify You? And what's really exciting about that is that it's going to be a continuing series to delve deeper into why we are the way we are. So, Larry, tell us a little bit about the article and how did that idea come about for you?
Well, really it came about as a result of looking and exploring strengths, looking at StrengthsFinders and the assessment, looking at other assessments such as DISC or Myers-Briggs. Other people may be familiar with those kinds of assessments, and trying to make those comparisons. One of the things I found out is that strengths and identifying your talents and developing into strengths really is a determination of why you are the way you are. Your talents and your strengths actually make that a realization in terms of who you are as a person, or why you do what you do. But people do. They spend their entire life, many people do, trying to figure out who they are. We all do. We want to explore who we are as a person and what we're trying to accomplish in life.
Or what you do. You know, we've all been to those marketing events, those expos, or even in an office and, oh, what do you do? Nobody says, why are you the way you are, right? Exactly. And it's such an important, integral part of how we live, our decisions, the decisions that we make. That reminds me of people asking me why I was bilingual at such an early age. When I was 8 years old, I used to translate for all the little kids at the ice cream man what they wanted and how much it was costing, and I'd collect all the money. I would be the transaction person. But I'm a connector. I'm a learner. I love to learn. I love to connect people. I love to connect ideas, and so that's why I am, right?
And that's a perfect example. I mean, the kinds of your strengths, as you pointed out, your learner, your connectiveness, those are the things that drive you to do what you do, to help the people out to get their ice cream, just so that you can provide the vital service of translation.
Yeah.
And that's what strengths tells us. Once you determine, you know, what kinds of things work for you and why you do what you do, you can begin to develop those things into stronger elements of your personality. I mean, use an analogy of in the animal kingdom, for instance. There's certain, different animals react different ways in certain situations. So their defense mechanisms, such as camouflage, or such as that they run fast. Those kinds of things. Those are the elements that determine what that particular species will do in a certain situation. In our situations, in terms of what we do, our strengths determine how we react, and how we use those tools is very, very instrumental in what the outcomes will be as a result of what we do and the decisions we make.
And so for StrengthsFinder, we always say focus on your strengths, manage your weaknesses. So Larry, that doesn't mean ignore what you're not necessarily great at, right?
Right, exactly. No, one of the things that we want to do is don't necessarily want to ignore. If you need to work on yourself and become better at technology and doing spreadsheets or something like that, certainly you can learn those elements. But in terms of your strengths, and you pointed out that you're a learner and you use connectivity as some of your top 5 strengths, what you want to do is begin to hone those skills and how you can use them in your workplace, in your home environment, and in life in general.
And I always say the ultimate goal is for you to be happy. Larry says, are we selling happiness? And guess what? I'm selling happiness because I think we could make, if you know your strengths, if you know your talents, if you understand yourself, I think you're going to be happy, don't you?
Well, it definitely is a key component. You know, in the workplace, doing things that you're not comfortable with or being asked to do things, and some of us, that's going to happen sometimes.
Right.
But when you do things that are in your strengths, things that you really enjoy doing, things that really, that you know that you're going to have a really good outcome in, those are the things that are really going to please you and make you happy. Yeah.
And I've known Larry several years, and every time that I've seen him in front of a crowd, at a podium, talking to a group of people, he is working in his strengths, and he looks really happy. So I say I'm right.
I would say you're right.
But folks, take note that it's not about changing who you are or skilling up or being something that you're, trying to be better at something that you're not good at. It's something that's already within you, right?
Correct. It's what you already have. It's your innate talents that, essentially you were born with, and that those things that you become to rely on in life over time. When situations got a little hairy, you rely on your strengths. My top strength is maximizer. I'm the type of person that's going to, go out and maximize that opportunity. I'm going to go to the store. I'm going to stop at the cleaners. I'm going to do all those things to make sure that opportunity is not lost.
So tell us about the people. What do you say to those folks that say, well, I already know myself. I already know what I'm good at. I already know what I can do well. And I'm still miserable. I still hate my job.
Well, I think to those people, they need to understand, first of all, they need to take the assessment and understand what their strengths are, what their talents are, and to make sure that that's what they really are flourishing in. Otherwise, they may be thinking that they do things well, and they may not be doing things so well. One of the strengths is winning over others, which is woo. We call that as one of our talents. And people who interact with people and people like to think that they're woo. You might take the assessment and find out that that's not necessarily one of the things that's a top strength for
Right.
you, and it may not be a comfort level that you enjoy.
And then with that, there's the basement and
Balcony.
the balcony, right? So tell us a little bit about what those two things mean.
Well, in your strengths, there's certain things that you can do. We call it balcony and basements, and what happens is that there are certain things that you can excel in your strengths or in your talents, and there's certain things that within those strengths that can become negatives if you're not actually implementing them in the right way.
Or if you're overusing them.
Or if you're overusing them. I think that in certain environments, one of our talent themes is command. And people who have the ability to take command and to use that ability to help get people to do other things. Well, if you use it in the wrong way or overuse it or in the wrong circumstances, it can be a negative to the people that you're interacting with.
So folks, if you think, well, I take command, but are people telling you you're pushy or bossy, that's a basement, right? That means that you're using that talent or strength in a way that's overusing it. You're depending on that too much instead of finding a balance in where you can be happy, others can be happy with you, and you can exchange ideas and be part of a team that's flourishing rather than feeling stuck. I think that's really important. What do you tell people who are leaders of teams?
Well, people that lead teams need to know and understand that, first of all, you want to know your own strengths. You want to understand who you are, or the why you are the way you are first. And then...
That's a tongue twister.
That's a tongue twister. Once you learn that, then you can begin to influence others in a positive way. The second thing you want to do is to learn your team. Why are they the way they are?
Right.
And once you begin to determine why they do and what their elements of strengths are, then you can begin to maximize and pull the most from them and get the most out of your team.
And they will be happy doing it because they're working in their strengths, right?
Absolutely.
I love that part of it. So, if you haven't taken the assessment, we'll have information on how you can do that. But moving forward, I really want Larry to delve deeper. So I want you to, mark your calendars for the times when we have the YUR segments, so that you can delve deeper, even after you take the assessment, or even if you haven't taken the assessment and you're wondering whether you should or shouldn't. It would be beneficial if you're a leader of a team, or whether you're an individual working as an entrepreneur. Don't you think?
I do think. I think that's an extremely important element to consider. Absolutely.
Yeah. Watch this mentor moment by himself.
Hi. Again, I'm Larry Hammond, and I'm here for another mentor moment. We've been talking about mentors and their influence and impact on your life and your people that you work with and your teams. And today I want to talk about a very special mentor to me, Cynthia Kurtz. Cynthia Kurtz was an incredible mentor. She was a person who ran the city of Pasadena as a city manager, and I learned a great deal from her about policy, management, and all those kinds of things. But the most important thing that I learned from Cynthia was this. And it came at a time when I went to go sit down, and I was with some other employees, and she came and sat down at the table with us. And we were talking, and in the conversation, it came out about the things that she was dealing with and things that were going on. And obviously those things are heavy burdens, and big decisions had to be made. And she always seemed to make them with ease and go about her day. And one of the things that she pointed out in that conversation, and I'll never forget it, was she says, my burdens are no different than anybody else's. So everybody's burdens are theirs, and it's all relative. And that makes so much sense. You can never think that at any time that because your burdens seem to be because of your responsibility or your position are any more than anyone else's. So remember, and I learned that from my mentor, Cynthia Kurtz, always remember, your burdens are not any more than anyone else's. Thank you.
That mentor moment was about somebody that you used to work with, right?
Correct.
How did you use your strengths in the workplace when you worked? And did you understand that you were using your strengths? I know I was using my strengths, but I didn't know that I was. Did you?
No, it's the same way. I mean, that's one of the things that drove me to this, to using this methodology. And I believe that it's the best way to get people to understand how they are, how they do what they do, and that you can maximize your team performance and maximize your own performance. When I was working, I was using my strengths. I was looking to others to pull from them so they could use their strengths, but I didn't know what to call it. I didn't have a language for it, and I didn't have a way to actually define how I was working with it. I was just kind of making it up as I went along.
Yeah.
But it was exactly what I was doing, because I found that to be the way, or the best way to make.
And I think that's what we're saying, folks, is we're saying we know that you know what you do well. We know that you know how to be happy. But what we're saying is that there's a deeper level to understanding your strengths and talents that will maximize your workplace, your relationships, your self-worth, your self-love, because until I found out what my strengths were, I couldn't tell somebody, I'm sorry, I need an hour to think about it. And an hour seems like a long time in the workplace when somebody wants a report right now, right?
That's right.
But I had to have that knowledge about myself in order to say, I can do that, but I need about half an hour. I need an hour. I need a couple of days to get that correctly, and not go back and forth with, this was wrong, or I needed that time.
Right. Well, knowing that is very, very critical. One of the analogies I like to use, superhero analogies, tend to work in the StrengthsFinder environment. If, Superman is flying along and he sees a building on fire, and he can use his x-ray vision to look into the building, see that there's a person in trouble, he can crash through the wall and save the person. Well, that's because he knows his strengths. I can, first of all, have x-ray vision. I can crash through the wall and not get killed. The fire won't burn me. Those are things that he knows as a superhero that he can do to make sure that he can get that job done. And that's the same thing that happens. We have our own superpowers, so to speak, in our strengths.
Yeah. And I think that happens with with all kinds of different, analogies that you'll find out there about strengths and what they bring to the table and how you get to know yourself, how to be close to perfect, right? There's a quote that about being nearly perfect.
Well, that's what you're striving for. As a matter of fact, this is probably going to be my next article out, right?
Woo, watch out for that one.
Striving for perfection, and strengths is not necessarily about that per se, because we all want to try to be the best we can be. But how you move forward and progress is what I'm going to be talking about.
And you often hear in out in the world, don't strive for perfection, just strive for complete. Or, but if you're working in your strengths and your talents, you can be near perfect in something that you're doing, even though it's not considered the world's perfect. In terms of, you're always going to get better. Yeah, you're always going to hone what you do, right? You're always going to manipulate the product, but near perfect for us means that you're in tune with who you are, what you want to do, how you want to do it, and you're maximizing the results, right?
Absolutely.
And that, I think that's really critical.
Absolutely. So it's all about why you are, why you do what you do, how you take your inherent talents, develop those talents into strengths, and actually have an impact on what you're trying to accomplish.
That's really cool. And folks, if you have not taken the assessment, it's incredible. I say it over and over and over and over again, that it was like my mother wrote it. It was so intimate. It was like, oh, how did they know this about me? And tell us a little bit about the assessment and how the reports, how they really are for you.
Right.
Right?
Correct. Well, one of the things I want to make sure it's clear is that your strengths work in tandem with each other. And with that,
So they're not like this, they're like this.
Yeah, and what you may have a strength that's similar to mine in our top 5. We do actually. But we may use them in different ways because
Right.
they're actually coupling with our other strengths to accomplish. So your assessment and my assessment for that particular talent will be different.
Right.
It will be different because I'm actually layering my talents on top of my other talents, as well as you're layering your talents on top of your talents, and they're different. And they interact with each other in a different way.
Wow, that's really cool. It sounds really complicated. It's not. It's like on a cloudy day and then the clouds move out of the way and the sun comes through and you're like, whoa, who turned on the lights? That's what it feels like. So if you haven't taken the assessment, I really encourage you to do so. And I encourage you to come back. We'll be announcing the times when Larry's going to come and go delve deeper into why you are. And hopefully what you'll get out of it is a little bit of happiness and understanding about why you are the way you are, so that others can understand you better as well. Your thing is going on.
It's beeping. It's trying to tell me something.
We gotta go, folks, because apparently somebody's trying to get a hold of him. We'll catch you next time on another episode of Be Brilliant. Enjoy the journey.